wow, some photographers are just amazing. They can tell you all the camera settings for each photograph. Just think about this. You take 2,000 photos at a wedding. Can you remember all the camera settings for each photograph? Then how the heck do they remember it all? Actually, they don't. Hi, I am Marcus Leibrand, the owner of Kondor Photographic. I suppose that you've already heard of EXIF data. Well, this is data that is embedded in each digital image when you take a photograph. So what is EXIF data? Well, EXIF data stands for Exchangeable Image File Format. It is embedded image data, also known as the metadata. Well, when does it happen? It happens every time you take a picture with your digital camera or your phone. A file is created, typically a JPEG file, and written to your device storage. In addition to all the bits dedicated to the picture data, it also records a considerable amount of supplemental metadata as well. And that's all that metadata that is referred to as the EXIF data. This can include the date, the time, camera settings, geotagging, and possible copyright information as well. Copyright information, yes, you can set that in your camera to say who is the owner of the camera and who's got copyright of the image. Also, the camera serial number is recorded inside each image, and that's very, very important to remember, because when you take the photograph, it embeds the camera serial number inside the photograph, and that is one way of proving that you are the owner of that image. So why do we use it? Why do we use EXIF data? Got an image, and the person asks you, tell me, what was your camera settings for this image? I can't remember. You know, doing 2,000, 3,000 photographs on a shoot, and you've got lots of shoots to do. So many photographs, so many settings, you can't remember them all. You look at the photograph and you wonder, I want to have more in focus on this image. I want to change the depth of field. But what do I need to change for it? I need to change my aperture, but wait, what was the aperture of this image? Oh, dang. So, you need to remember all this stuff. It's impossible. You take a photograph, there's lots of movement included in it, and you want to know how to replicate that settings to do the photograph. For instance, if you take a photograph at an air show with the propeller of the airplane, it's got some nice blur movement into it. Then you want to know what was your shutter speed. So, it is also for troubleshooting your images and for sharing. But where can I view that information? Well, easy to say. The operating system will also help you with that. If you right click on the file and go into details, then it will show you some of that information. And I mean some of it, a little bit. Because there is a lot of information available that it can be embedded into each image. I'll show you that later. Normally you've got the file creation date, the date the file was last edited, and those things. You can also add further metadata to the file's EXIF information. And for that you have to use software. Normally not a good idea to mess around with these settings and information. But yes, there are reasons why we would use certain information to be added or removed from the photograph. So, next we will look on my computer how we will view, edit and remove EXIF data. So, let's go! Great, here we are. Let's have a look at the files. In Explorer, we've got the CR2 file, it's camera raw for Canon, and the JPEG file. So let's first look at the CR2 file. Right click on the image, go to Properties, and immediately we see the file size, date created, date modified, accessed. So that information is already embedded inside the photograph. Then the details section, and there we can see the dimensions of the image, the size, the author, camera make, camera model, and as I mentioned, camera serial number already as well. ISO speed, everybody asks for the ISO speed, the f-stop, exposure time, and a lot of information. So as I say, that is quite a lot of information. GPS system information, file name, file type. So there's a lot of information available for that. It is slightly different when we go to the JPEG file, go to details, and again we have information, but it does not have the GPS information shown here. Interestingly, remove properties and personal information. Click on this, and what we have here is we can create a copy with all the possible properties removed. So as we can see, we can click here, nothing happens, and we can say create a copy. Copying, another file is holding the file. Okay, so the file is open in another browser. Okay, cancel this one, we can try that with another file. But while we have the subject open here, we can remove certain information. Say we can remove these, all this information. We tag it and remove it. And select all for everything, and when we say OK, it removes all this information from that file. So then it is just plain EXIF information list on the file for you. And that is when you want to share a file without sharing this information with anybody else. So that is one way of looking at the information. Another way of looking at it is going to the details on the Explorer. You can see the date, file types, sizes. Right click down there and say more, and just look at the long list of information that can be embedded in the image as well. We can tag it and display it all around in Explorer. Going to Faststone Image Viewer, the same. If we right click on it, properties, there is information, go to details, and we see the same information as in the normal Explorer for this one. Okay, let's just go to there and we say open with external file editor. And while it is opening in Photoshop, great, there is the file that we're waiting for. And let's just open the image and see what we can do next with it. Okay, so there's the image. We're not going to change it. Just going to say File and Save As, and there's nothing we can change onto this part. So let's cancel that one and go to Save for Web and Devices, and that makes it different. So there is the image. And we can use some presets and all the fancy stuff that you have for that. However, there is the metadata. And you can, when you click down and say none, copyright information, copyright and contact information. I think that is very pretty handy. All except the camera information, all the information. So you've got quite a variety of settings to say what EXIF information must be included. I think copyright and contact info is a good one to have included in your image. And when you say save it, it will save the image. Just go to okay, and it creates a GIF file for us. And we say save. And that's it done. Let's just have a look. Okay, there is the GIF file that we've created. Let's see what information is in the GIF file. Properties, details, and you can see there's only a little bit of information available on the image for you. So let's just copy it and add it to this folder over here. Right, there is all the files. So that is the file, the raw file in Photoshop. Let's just close this file for now. Now I do not want to save this file. Let's have a look at LightRoom. Go to my folder and say synchronize folder. Now let's import this image. Go to this image. And immediately it tags us and say there is a CR2 and a JPEG file in the same folder for it. Now we go to develop. And without making any changes to it, let's go to the export folder. EXIF for the subfolder. You'll notice that I've got my import data in one folder and my export data, the outputs, in a different folder. You can change the file name and all the stuff, and then we have metadata, and this one says minimize embedded metadata. That one's ticked, it will just minimize the information for you. This one will write keywords as Lightroom hierarchy, and we can switch that one off as well, so it will just keep the metadata as is. But click both of them and we export it. Okay, that is done. There's the file in the outputs folder. Let's see what is left over of the metadata. Properties, details. As you can see, all these other goodies has been taken out, stripped out. Just the dimensions of the image is there, the bit depth, and the file name and the dates and all the stuff that's, and the attributes which is necessary. So let's try and fiddle with this file. Create a copy. We can't click in here, so let's just select all, click back, so now all of them is tagged, and let's see what happens. And we've created a copy. So we'll check the copy just now for the EXIF information in there. Oh, let's do that. Properties, details, again the minimum information in there. Okay, so remove. Let's see what we can remove from it. So we select all and say, great, let's remove it. So whatever was in there will be removed, but as you can see, certain information must be included and will be included in your image file. So at this point, I want to thank you for watching my channel. Do subscribe to my channel and stay tuned, because I'm going to give you some links where you can get software that will show you all the EXIF data that's available. Let's just go to EXIF-Viewer. Just go to the data file, yeah. So we have the input file over there. So with this EXIF-Viewer, we can take a single picture and look at the information on it. And you can see the basic information for a quick view, and there's a whole lot of information available on this as well. Statistics, a lot of options we can go for this as well. We can edit the EXIF date, we can set the file date, match file names. So as you can see, there is quite a lot of information that you can get from this. You can also transfer this information to Excel, which is very handy. Include subdirectories. And continue. You can also filter your camera there in there. So let's go to continue. And it's creating an Excel file for us. And there we go. So that is the location for your file, file name, file size, manufacturer, and so we can go on. This is important information to have, I suppose. Exposure value compensation, focal length, the real focal length, the resolution, and let's see how far can this list go on. Boy, oh boy. Just look at all this information that is available. Okay, it's not always populated, but it depends on the manufacturer and the file type and a whole lot of information further as well. As you can see, there is a camera serial number, the firmware version that I'm using on my camera, the owner name. So by using those two together, it's clear indication of who is the photographer and the owner of the copyright of the photographer. Go into column CR. Now that is quite a lot of information that is embedded and can be embedded in images. What is very nice is if you take your directory with your images in it, let's just go to this. So we say, okay, whatever is in this folders, create an index for me. Include the subdirectories. And continue. And it's found 222 images to index for us. But what is very nice about this, you'll see in a moment. And for this, let's just continue, and it creates a list for us. And now we can see we've got 5 photographs taken at 10 millimeter. Got 14 photographs on 18 millimeter, and so we can go through and say, okay, the focal length I use the least is 250 millimeter, and the one I use most is 55 millimeter. And that makes 20% of my images shot on the 55 millimeter lens. Check the ISO speed, and most of my settings done on ISO 100, and quite a little bit of them shot on larger than ISO 1600. Shutter speed, it varies between 100 and 250th of a second. And ever so often I do shoot on 320th of a second. Exposure value correction, compensation. Sometimes I deliberately underexpose with 1 stop of light, and there you can see also with 2 1/3 stops of light. So yes, I do use exposure compensation, but mostly I don't use exposure compensation. Interestingly, camera orientation, keeping the camera level compared to rotating it. So this will be landscape, and this will be portrait mode. Portrait mode, turn to the right or to the left. Nikon lens, no data available. Canon lens selection, because I only shoot in Canon at this moment. Predominantly my 18 to 135 millimeter lens is being used, and I do have a couple of them done on my Nifty 50. But this is just on this folder. You can do this for your whole index on all your photographs. You can see I've shot with the Canon 7D, 300D. There's a couple of cell phone photos included as well. 20D, and then these are shot taken by students. Cell phone again, 700D student work, and another cell phone photograph. Copy all this to the clipboard. So this is quite interesting to see all the information that you can have. So let's create an index. Path, setting there, include subdirectories. It will create a CSV file for us. Continue. Right, let's have a look at our file that's created for us, and it's created in a CSV format. But let's open it with Excel, and there we've got it. change all the columns to the correct size. And there you can see the directory where the file is. So that file is in that directory and all the subdirectories in between, as we've done. And as we've seen, we have done 205 files in total. From these files we can see the file name, file size, manufacturer, camera type, firmware versions, date and time stamps, in what program mode was the photograph shot, manual mode, aperture priority, shutter priority, the aperture numbers. Some photographs have been changed in Photoshop Elements, so it may be a JPEG file, but it could just be an image. So there's no data for this aperture and shutter speed. So those files are also included. So we can see all the information inside. So let's just go to View, freeze the top pane, top row. Now we can go better through the list. You can see all the settings, flash not fired, spot metering, matrix metering, a whole lot of information, stuff that you will not normally remember. Copyright belongs to Kondor Photographic. Auto white balance, manual white balance. I mean, there's every little thing you can think of, all the settings. That information gets embedded in the photograph. And a lot of other information that you normally don't think of using. So this information you can now sort and use to do statistics on, and easy enough. You can now just change this in Excel to a clickable link, and you can click on the link and it will open that folder for you. So quick to reference your photographs. Great, I hope you enjoyed it and found some benefit from this. It was a rather lengthy session, but there's a lot of information that I can share with you. Please remember to subscribe to my channel, and see you on the next roll.